You know it's time to let go, but your heart keeps finding reasons to stay. You tell yourself, maybe he just needs more time. Maybe he'll finally see your worth. Maybe it'll hurt less if I wait for closure. But here's the truth, sis. Letting go does not mean you stopped caring. It means you started finally caring for you. And I know that this is the hardest part because women like us, we don't quit easily. We hold on, we fight, we pray, we give grace, and sometimes to our own detriment. Today, we're talking about the tug of war between our heads and our hearts. The part of you that knows this relationship is in alignment, and the other part of you that's scared to lose the version of love you imagine. We're going to walk through what detachment really means, how to release it with compassion, and why letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom. Sis, welcome. I am Marshawn Olanio, and I specifically work with and help Black professional women who need help with relaxing their boss mode because they're so used to being in their masculine energy at work that sometimes they just need help to transition into their softer side when they're in the relationship without feeling like they have to give up all of their power or all of their control. Today, we're talking about the detachment dilemma, how to let go when you still care. I mean, I've been there before. Have you been there before? I mean, many of us have been there where we still care. We know that we need to let this relationship go or this person go from our lives. And I know I'm specifically talking about romantic relationships here, but even think about some of the friendships in your life. The people that are that you're attached to because of a time frame, meaning they've been my friend for 30 years. They've been my friend for 20 years. I've been there for this person. So there's a time attachment to you in this relationship. So yes, I'm specifically talking about romantic relationships, but if this applies to your friendships or even some of your familiar relationships that are not healthy for you, that is not healthy for your mental, that is not healthy for your physical, it's not healthy for your spiritual, it's not healthy for your financial, it's now time to make some tough decisions. Let's jump into this. The first thing that came to mind was the myth that we have to have the first thing that came to mind, let me run that back. The first thing that came to mind is the myth of the complete closure. Closure isn't a conversation. It's a decision. It's literally saying, today I'm deciding to end this. Today I'm deciding to end this relationship. Today I'm deciding to stop waiting on whatever, fill in the blank. Waiting for the perfect ending only delays your healing. You cannot start to heal if you are still stuck in said situation, around the same energy, in the same environment, feeling the exact same way, never getting the answers that you want. You're just stuck. And that healing, that wound could never begin to close, right? It can never begin to close if you're still in the situation. Maybe you have this love-hate relationship with texting. And you keep texting and texting and texting because you just want some closure. You just want the clarity. You're hoping that this response, this particular time, is different than before. Or if he has never responded, you are hoping that this is the time that he will see you, hear you, read your heart and the message that you have sent so he can make it hurt less for you. Can I let you in on a little secret? That rarely happens. And if it does, it rarely feels good. According to Cycle Central in 2023, 78% of women report not receiving closure from past relationships. But 92% eventually found peace without the closure. I remember working with a client years ago, and she was a part of this group of women specifically, where she just needed closure. She couldn't move on. She was stuck. She was the texter. She was the caller. Where to the point I was just like, sis, you're looking real desperate out here. Closure is not a conversation, it's a decision. You have to find your own closure, because 9 times out of 10, you're never going to get it from the partner. You're never going to get it from the friend. They are who they are, and we have to accept who they are presenting to us today, not for who we think they are or who they should show up as. The myth of closure is keeping you stuck. The myth of you needing closure before you can move forward is stopping your growth journey. You're going to be stuck in the same position in the next week, the next month, the next year, if you don't make the decision to say, I am closing this door. I don't need to hear the reason. And then there is the behind the scenes inner work that you start to do on yourself. You start to build your self-esteem. You start to build your self-confidence once again. You start to lean on those people that were actually feeding life and love into you versus scraping for the scraps that he was willing to give you. You start to understand your worth. You start to stay 10 toes down in who you actually are versus how he wanted you to be. And then you started changing into that. There is a myth in needing closure in order for the relationship to end. That's a myth. It doesn't help you. And usually the other person can't even articulate why, because there's so many layers to usually when a breakup happens. The next thing, why your heart still defends him. Here's why, sis. Because of the emotional bonds that were created, there are chemical attachments that happen. And these are not just emotional. We have oxytocin, we have dopamine, and even the memory loops that make the mind replay what once felt safe. That memory loop can really keep you staying longer and longer and hoping things are going to change and hoping he's going to get better and hoping he sees your worth. And I remember when we used to do ABC. I remember a friend, now she's not in this relationship anymore. It was actually a marriage, but in any event, I remember she did not want to end this marriage. And I am pro marriage. I'm totally for marriage. Yes, I'm a part of the statistic, which means I'm a divorcee, but I'm totally for marriage if you're married to the right person. Without dragging that marriage, I'll say he just wasn't the right person. Her and I have talked about it plenty of times. It's not just really my words per se. I digress. The point of that marriage and this conversation is she knew how unhealthy he was for her life. This was even before the I do. And she still said, I do. I remember having a conversation with her before they got married to ask her some pertinent questions as her friend, but also as a coach, but more as her friend, because I can't make a decision for you. I can't make a decision for her. But as her friend, and of course, as a relationship coach, I already knew this was not going to work before she said I do. But once they got married, I shut on up, because now that's your husband. That's your husband. You made the choice. And so I'm saying all this because I remember she just could not let this man go. She would defend him. She would tell me some, okay, I'll mention one thing and then I move on. Cause I was just like, what? Cause I didn't even hear of it. I didn't even know that this thing existed. So what am I talking about? I remember she was telling me how before they got married, this was one of the red flags that I mentioned to her. Before they got married, I remember this dude used to have to blow into a DUI machine in order to start up his vehicle. I didn't even know that this was a thing. The reason why he had this in his car, for those of you who didn't know like me, he had already had several DUIs. And so in order for him to be able to start up his vehicle, he had to literally take a breathalyzer, breathalyzer test every time before he drove. It was installed into his car. And so if he was drunk, his car wouldn't start, right? And so what he would do, my friend wasn't a drinker. Now, it's really dangerous now that I'm thinking about it, because she would blow into the breathalyzer, but then she would still let him drive. She got a license. Now, I don't know if there was a dynamic in the relationship where he didn't want her to drive his car. I don't know. But let me wrap all of this up. She was defending him because she was just like, well, I mean, I just wanted to help him out and essentially allow him to get home. But you in the car with this dude. You don't drink. Why you allowing him to drink drunk? But the biggest red flag was just him having to have the machine in his car, period. And he was still doing said behavior. We cannot defend the craziness that we see on somebody before we say I do. So these are the choices and the topics that I talk about on this station, really, on this platform, because a lot of us set ourselves up for failure. And then we have a tendency to keep pointing the finger at the other person. And when you're working with me, I like to point the finger at you, because what part did you play in the relationship not working out? And in her case, the part that she played before saying I do was blowing in the breathalyzer to start the vehicle up. He was already presenting toxic behavior before you said I do. And then she wondered why the relationship didn't work out. Excuse me, the marriage. She kept replaying all of the first with him. And I remember this was one of the things which made it really hard for her to leave him. He took her on a lot of first experiences, like horseback riding. She had never seen snow up until that point, so he drove her up to a mountain where it snowed, and let her do that. And so it was a lot of first time beautiful memories together. But there was also a lot of toxic ones. I told you one, but then they used to get in verbal confrontations out in public and just look real horrible, right? And so it was a lot of red flags. And she just kept defending him. But she stayed in that memory loop of, I can't walk away because I remember when he used to make me feel special. I remember when he used to make me feel beautiful. I remember when he thought about some of the things that I had never experienced, and he took me on those dates. All of that's beautiful. But it was wrapped in a lie bow. That wasn't really him. The real him was the toxic dude, which is, again, why they divorced. One of the reasons. There's plenty other. I'm going to move on because we have to stop defending what we actually see. We have to stop leaning on the memory loop, replaying all of the greats, all of the goods that started and established the relationship. Now we have to deal with who's right in front of us. And especially if your partner is not trying to better themselves. In his case, he was not trying to better himself, not one iota. And up until the time that they got divorced, he wasn't trying to better himself. Sometimes your friends do see the writing on the wall before you do. And because I'm a coach plus a friend, there was plenty of things that I saw that we had conversations about before the I do. But at the end of the day, your choice is yours to make. She made her choice. And there it is. We have fantasy versus facts. A lot of times that get in the way of us being able to detach from the person, because you're not missing him per se. You're missing the version of him that you created in your mind about him, about the two of you. And so then the real question becomes, what did he actually do to nurture the relationship? Because again, there's those memory loops. So that could be some of your evidence to say, here's what he actually did to nurture the relationship. But were those things the foundational values and characteristics in a partner that you wanted. A lot of us get caught up on, for instance, the good times, the great times, right? And then we're not really remembering this person doesn't have the best interest at heart about me nor the relationship, because if he did, if I'm hurting about a certain topic, if I'm wanting to have a conversation about a certain topic, and he keeps blowing me off or saying that we're going to have the conversation later on, but then later on never comes, he's never addressing it ever again. He gets ticked off whenever I bring A, B, C, D, E, F, G up. Is that really being on one accord with one another? Is that really having your values aligned with one another? You miss the version of him who texts good morning or who texts good night, not the one who ignored you for days. You remember the first good moments more vividly than the months and months and months of inconsistency, because we like to see and remember the good times. And I get it. But if the bad times are outweighing the good times, it's time to take inventory. It's time to really think about the life that we want to create. And if this is not in alignment with the life that we truly want to create, we got to do something different. One of the things that I created in order to help women like yourself to figure out why you are attracting the same people, as I created a quiz. It's called "What's Blocking You from Being Soft in Love?" A lot of the questions on there are going to help you to understand why you keep attracting the same type of guy over and over again. And it's going to help you to see the patterns that keep emerging in your life in order to attract these people. Not only will you get the results, right? You're also going to receive a 3-page action plan in order to help you to get to the next level, to really figure out what you're actually doing wrong per se, and then how to correct said behaviors. That link is down in the description box below, and it will be in the first comment in this, or in the show notes, depending on where you're watching and or listening to this from. So check out the quiz. That way you can get the information that you need in order to really start turning around your areas of weakness and why you keep attracting these same people, that same men specifically, that are not for you. This quiz is specifically curated for Black professional women. So if you are not a Black professional woman, I appreciate you listening to this. However, don't take the quiz. It's not for you. The questions are curated for women that I just mentioned. All right, let's jump back into it. There's also the emotional detachment, and understanding that it does not equal you being cold. Detachment isn't bitterness. Nah, it's the boundary between love and loss of self. You can care and still choose the distance. For example, you can say, you know what, I wish you well. This doesn't mean that I'll wait for you. I really do wish you well. I really do wish that you get on your feet. I really do wish that, whatever the thing is. But that doesn't mean that you have to wait around while he is getting himself together. I was listening to a clip on Facebook, and a lady came up to the mic, and she was essentially saying, she was asking the panel what should she do about this dilemma. Her dilemma was, the way she said it was, the love of my life is living with his baby mother. And the reason why he's over there is because he told her that he's trying to figure out how to keep his child in his life. I'm not saying that that's not true. He's only there to make sure that he's able to see his child. I know that there are some women out there that will take the child away if the man is not, quote unquote, acting right, doing what she wanted to do. I'm not saying that he's lying. What I am saying, though, is that After hearing more about her story, one of the panelists was saying he's trying to essentially just keep you around as the side chick. Okay. Another panelist, which both of them were black men, these panelists, they were kind of going back and forth and arguing with one another, because then the other gentleman jumped in and he was like, hold on. I can't let you just say that. Like, there are so many men that are in situations like this because a lot of them are immature and can't handle, they don't know how to really handle the situation. So I can't really say that he's just trying to make her the side trick, right? So they were kind of going back and forth. The lady was standing there, she's waiting for the answer, right? Long story short, the other guy came back and he said, well, let me ask you this. He said, you know what? You might be right, my brother. Came back to the lady at the mic and he said, how long ago has he asked you to wait for him? And she said, over a year. He just started laughing. He said, exactly. You are the side chick now. Because if a man really wants to be with you, he will be with you. Another gentleman, a different panelist, he actually said, there are ways around that. I'm not just going to be in a situation for the sake of my kids. Now, I want it to be healthy. And of course, I want to see my kids, but I'll go to court to make sure that I get visitation. I'll do A, B, C, D, like he had like a list of things that he would do. So he said he's there because he wants to be there, but he also wants to keep you as a side chick, because he could have came up with the plan in a year and actually start working on it if he wanted to really be with you. Detachment is not coldness. You can wish him well. In her situation, she totally could have wished him well and said, you know what? I absolutely understand what you're saying. Call me when you got your stuff together, if I'm still available. And then detach yourself. Women who practice compassionate detachment report 40% faster recovery after the breakup. Recover faster by just detaching yourself in a compassionate way. You don't have to be rude, ugly, and mean, but you do have to think about you, because rest assured, when he was asking her to wait, he was totally thinking about himself. He wasn't thinking about her heart being on hold. He wasn't thinking about that he over there with this other woman, probably having intercourse and all this other stuff, building a family, telling her ABC, but he's still on the phone telling you D, E, and F, but not at the house with you anymore. He's not, literally, you are the side chick. You can detach in a compassionate way and start to recover 40% faster by just taking back control of what you can control. Because you can control you. You can control you not texting. You can control you not calling. You can control you not responding when he reaches out. You can control that. You cannot control him deciding which woman he wants to be with. I remember listening to this other woman. She said, listen, if I'm a choice, choose the other person. And I love that, because if I am one of your choices, that means you don't really want me like that. You're still deciding. And I want somebody that has already decided that this is where they want to be. I'm not about allowing you to teeter the fence. You could teeter the fence with somebody else. That's not what we're doing over here. Another thing, releasing the fixer identity. We talked about fixer mentality last week. This week, let's release that. Release your fixer identity. You can't heal somebody by holding on to them. It doesn't work like that. Sometimes love looks like letting them face themselves. For example, last week I talked about you basically being his motivator and helping him with the resume and sending him job links and all that stuff. What about you stop giving advice? What about you stop motivating him? What about you stop being his emotional support when he's not showing and or reciprocating the growth? Sometimes you just got to shut it on down and shut it on up and just watch. Now let's see, because now he has the information. You've given said information because you are a motivator, and we have this fantasy versus reality. We are seeing, we have a vision for him in our future versus paying attention to the version of him that is here in our face today. Sometimes we can fix that by releasing the fixer in you. We're not nurturing somebody. We're not pushing somebody to the next level. We can cheerlead if that's what they're doing. If they're not on their journey, if they're not on their road, then what are we doing? What you doing? We're not doing it. Stop giving the advice and watch what happens. Stop supporting him in the ways that you were really acting like his mama, and allow him to step in and fill in his own gaps. See what happens. Nothing may happen. Something may actually happen without you in the way. And the truth of the matter is, you are stunting his growth. You are stunting from being the provider. You are stunting him from showing you that he can provide, protect, and create a stable environment for you, because you keep jumping in the way. You don't want the ball to drop because you know it's going to affect your life. Sometimes we got to let the ball drop, because men really want you to just trust their decisions. Now, there's a caveat to that, because if he is not your man, if he is not your husband, if he is not you're the one, you shouldn't be waiting on him to do all of that for you anyway. I'm talking about somebody that is ready to stand in the gap, fill in, be there for you, wife you up. If you are, if still childbearing years and want children, all that stuff, and or become a father figure for the child or children that you already have. Not to say stand in, because there are single moms and single dads that are still in their child's life. They might not be a couple, meaning the adults might not be a couple, but the child still has both parents. You don't necessarily need them to be the father figure. The father, stand in like the father. He may just need to see his father, right, doing good and being there. But then also, dang, now I got a bonus dad, right? They say bonus mom. I got a bonus dad that's also here with me, for me. Not only am I loved by my biological parents, I'm loved by this man too. Allowing them to, meaning your child or children, to really get love from all over the place. It doesn't mean that he has to be the father to your child. Now, if that's something that's needed, that's a different story. But I'm talking about it, just thinking that everybody doesn't need that. That's all I'm saying. And then the other thing that came to mind is grieving the possibility, not the person. You may be mourning the idea of what could have been. And that's valid, sis. Give yourself permission to grieve your own investment. For example, it wasn't crazy. I was hopeful. And that's okay. It truly is okay. And you want to give yourself permission to be exactly who you want to show up and be. Letting go doesn't erase what was real. It just honors what's next. Sis, if you're tired of giving love that cost you your peace, take my quiz. What's blocking you from being soft in love? It'll help you uncover the exact belief that keep holding on to for too long, and show you how to make peace with releasing what no longer feeds you, and then help you to gain the strength once again.